Hello, friends, and welcome back to IntelligentPod, the show where we dive deep into the science and stories behind human intelligence, behavior, and the world around us. I'm your host, Sophie Lane, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. If you've ever wondered why fear can freeze us in place, spur us to action, or even influence our decisions in ways we don't fully understand, you're in the right place. Today's episode is all about the psychology of fear, from survival mechanism to societal manipulator. We'll explore how fear evolved as a crucial tool for our ancestors, how it shapes our brains and choices today, and the ways it's sometimes used, intentionally or not, to influence societies, cultures, and even our personal lives. So grab your favorite cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and let's get curious together. Let's start with something we can all relate to. Have you ever felt your heart race before giving a big presentation, or maybe avoided a perfectly safe elevator just because it felt a little too cramped? Fear can feel like an unwelcome guest, showing up at the most inconvenient times. But fear, at its core, is actually one of our most ancient and essential emotions. Fear is like our brain's personal alarm system. It's designed to keep us alive. When our ancient ancestors encountered a saber-toothed tiger or a snake in the grass, fear signaled the body to prepare for fight or flight, to either face the danger or run as fast as possible. This rapid response often made the difference between survival and, well, becoming lunch. Fast forward to today, and our world is a lot less filled with wild predators, but our brains haven't caught up. The same system that protected prehistoric humans now responds to things like job interviews, public speaking, or even a scary headline online. Let's put some numbers to it. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, about 19% of adults in the United States experience an anxiety disorder each year. That's nearly 1 in 5 people whose fear responses are triggered so often that it becomes a daily challenge. But fear isn't just about survival or anxiety. It's a powerful emotion that can shape entire societies, sometimes intentionally, sometimes accidentally. Let's take a step back and look at this from a few different perspectives. First, the psychological view. Fear is processed in the amygdala, a tiny almond-shaped cluster of nuclei deep in the brain. When you sense danger, the amygdala kicks off a chain reaction. Adrenaline floods your system, your heart pounds, your muscles tense, and you're ready to react. This happens in fractions of a second, often before you're even consciously aware of the threat. But the interesting twist is that the amygdala isn't that good at distinguishing between real, immediate threats and imagined ones. So, whether you're actually facing a wild animal or just worrying about an awkward conversation, your body may react in very similar ways. This leads us to the scientific perspective. There's a fascinating study from 2004 conducted by neuroscientists at the University of Wisconsin that used brain imaging to observe people's fear responses. They found that even when participants knew they were completely safe, that the images they were seeing were just pictures, their brains still reacted as if there was real danger. The amygdala lit up, their bodies showed signs of stress, and their thoughts shifted toward self-preservation. What does this tell us? Our brains are hardwired to err on the side of caution. It's safer, evolutionarily speaking, to jump at a false alarm than to miss a real threat. Now, let's move to the cultural and societal angle. Human societies have long recognized the power of fear, not just as a protective mechanism, but as a tool. Throughout history, leaders, media, and even marketers have leveraged fear to influence behavior. Think about the way news headlines are crafted. Danger lurks in your backyard, or are you at risk? These headlines grab attention because they tap into our fear circuits, making us more likely to click, read, and share. And it's not just the media. Political campaigns often use fear-based messaging, sometimes called fear appeals, to sway voters. Research published in the journal Political Psychology found that fear-based messages are more effective at changing attitudes and motivating action than neutral or positive ones. But there's a catch. Overuse of fear can also lead to desensitization, cynicism, and even paralysis. Let me share a real-life example that I think really illustrates the dual nature of fear. In 2014, during the Ebola outbreak, there was a surge of fear across the world. News stories, social media, and public announcements created a sense of imminent danger, even in places where the actual risk was close to zero. On one hand, this fear led to increased funding for research, international cooperation, and public health measures. On the other hand, it also led to stigma, misinformation, and sometimes even panic. So, fear can protect us, motivate us, and even unite us. But it can also mislead us, divide us, and be used to manipulate us. Now, let's bring it down to the personal level. How does understanding the psychology of fear help us in our daily lives? Well, first, recognizing fear as a natural response can help us show ourselves a bit of compassion. If you feel afraid, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means your brain is doing its best to protect you, even if it's overreacting. But what about when fear holds us back? Or when it's used to sway our decisions in ways we might not notice? Here are a few actionable steps you can take to work with your fear rather than against it. 1. Label the fear. Research by psychologist Dr. Dan Siegel suggests that simply naming your fear, saying, "I'm feeling anxious about this presentation," can reduce its intensity. It helps move your brain's activity from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex, which is better at problem solving. 2. Reality check your thoughts. Ask yourself, is this fear based on a real immediate threat, or is it more about what could happen? Sometimes, writing down your worries and asking, what evidence do I have for this fear, can help put things in perspective. 3. Limit your exposure to fear-based media. It's important to stay informed, but pay attention to how much time you spend reading or watching scary news stories. Take breaks and seek out positive or balanced sources when you can. 4. Practice mindfulness. Simple mindfulness exercises, like deep breathing or focusing on your senses, can help calm your body's fear response and bring you back to the present moment. 5. Use fear as information, not instruction. Fear can be a helpful signal, but it doesn't have to dictate your actions. Notice it, thank your brain for looking out for you, and then decide what's truly best for you in the moment. So, as we wrap up, let's reflect on what we've explored today. Fear is one of humanity's oldest and most powerful emotions. It can keep us safe, but it can also be manipulated by others and sometimes by our own minds. By understanding how fear works, acknowledging its presence, and using practical strategies to cope, we can reclaim our agency and make choices that are informed, not just instinctive. Before we go, I have a reflective thought for you. The next time you feel afraid, pause for a moment. Instead of pushing the fear away, try to get curious about it. Ask yourself, what is my brain trying to protect me from right now? Sometimes, just that little bit of curiosity can turn fear from an enemy into an ally. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Intelligent Pod. If you found today's discussion helpful, please consider leaving a review. It really helps others discover the show. You can find detailed show notes and further reading at intelligentpod.com. And I'd love to hear your thoughts or questions. Email me anytime at sophie@intelligentpod.com. Stay curious, stay courageous, and I'll see you next time on Intelligent Pod.